What's going on, guys? It's Aaronitmar, and there has been a very big news in the Zelda timeline, and the Zelda community in general. Um, this timeline has been unofficially released. The book, I don't know if Nintendo's publishing it or not, but it's the Legend of Zelda book called Hyrule Historia, and it covers covers a timeline. I'm not sure if it's the official timeline, but um, it says, I'm reading the article here, which there's a link down in the description. It says, Kotaku and the official Nintendo magazine are confident this is the official timeline. So I figured I'd cover it for you guys and let you know what's up, so you can grasp what's going on. So it was confirmed with the release of Skyward Sword that that is the earliest story, but there's obviously story before that, which we could be room for another game. But this is what happens. If you haven't played Skyward Sword yet and you want to stay spoiler free, I would suggest clicking the annotation on screen now so you can skip ahead to when I'm not talking about the spoilers. I'm talking about games that have been out for years. Okay, so in Skyward Sword, the goddess Hylia has chosen Link as the hero to stop Demise after he basically caused hell on Hyrule, and she sent portions of the land up into the sky, which is Skyloft. Link is a chosen hero. He's been chosen to wield the goddess sword, which contains Fi. Eventually, Fi in the goddess sword becomes the master sword when it's infused with the three flames of the dragons. I believe it's of the dragons, and then it becomes the master sword. Once Demise is defeated, Demise is the main villain, and he vows to be reincarnated because his hatred is so powerful for the goddess. He'll keep being reincarnated, which we can assume is going to be Ganondorf throughout the rest of the series. Okay, so now we're on to past the spoiler parts, and the next game in the timeline is Diminished Cap. And the Diminished Cap, it discusses there was a past hero when Hyrule was about to be consumed by darkness. The small race, the Picori, I have such a hard time saying that. The Picori gave the Picori blade to a chosen hero, who then defeated the evil force. I'm not sure what that is. I don't know if you guys are, but I'm not. But then there was the whole deal with Vati gaining power via the magical cat, and he turned Eslo into a talking cat. Eslo and Link then team up. Link then defeats Vati, and then Vati and Eslo both turn back into their original forms. And then they return to the Diminished World, and the white sword is sealed away, placed back in its pedestal. Okay, the third game is Four Swords. Now, Four Swords, there is a prologue about Vati kidnapping maidens, and only Link, who split into four using his magical sword, basically, could stop him. And he did stop him, and he sealed him in the blade. So there's two different things going on here. I'm not sure if I got the Minish Cap ending right. But in the prologue, it definitely says that Vati was sealed away in the sword, but I don't remember that happening in Minish Cap, so there could be some room for another game in between those two. I'm not sure. You can correct me if I'm wrong, because I'm obviously not an expert. I'm just a fan. So anyways, so it talks about how Vati is sealed within the blade, and that legend was passed down because Link was able to split into four using using that sword. So it became known as the Four Sword. Vati's seal weakened, and he broke free, and a new Link eventually pulls out the Four Sword again, weakens Vati, and seals him in the Four Sword. Reseals him in the Four Swords. So that is those are the events of Four Swords. So it's sort of like a different thing going on with the Master, and the Master Sword is just sort of waiting. Then Ocarina of Time comes, and we all know this story. What we can assume is Demise. He is reincarnated as Ganondorf, and Link and Zelda are both reincarnated along with him, since they're all linked to get it linked. They're all linked together in this this like basic infinite circle. And Link pulls out the Master Sword. He revives the seven sages, he revives six of them, and then Zelda is the seventh. And he defeats him. He defeats Ganondorf, then he defeats Ganon. Then the seven sages seal him away, and then he's sent back in time to his childhood. Okay, so now we have the first split that occurs, and this has been confirmed by Eiji Aonuma, The childhood and adult different timelines has been confirmed by him. So we're going to cover the childhood branch first, and this is where the events of Majora's Mask take place. So after Zelda sends Link back in time to his childhood, Link warns Zelda, and the guards. They basically they take Ganondorf and they plan to execute him because he's been discovered as this evil person. So they go to execute him, but he survives because Din plays some prank or something, and he gets the Triforce of Power, and so he's able to survive. So the sages. Oh, and he kills the water sage. That's important. So then he didn't kill us. The sages seal him in Twilight. Okay. So now that Link is a child again, and the events technically never happened, the events of Ocarina of Time technically didn't happen, he goes on to find Navi in Majora's Mask, and then the events of Majora's Mask happen, which is sort of like, it's sort of an aside, like it happens, but it has nothing to do with, the Triforce, the Ganon, everything. But it's still, it's a really good game, guys. Just yeah. But that's when those events happen. Okay, so then hundreds of years later, Twilight Princess happens, and that's when Ganondorf is he is released from the Twilight through the mirror, and then all that happens, and then I haven't played Twilight Princess in so long, I apologize. But yes, he escapes, and then a new Link pulls the Master Sword out and has to defeat him, which he does. Okay, so, and I don't remember if he's sealed away in the Twilight or not. Sealed away again, or oh no, he's definitely killed. He's killed. That's right. He is killed. Okay, so he's killed in Twilight Princess. Okay, so, and then the whole Twilight deal, like the Twilight Realm, is the seal is broken, or the pathway is broken off because the Mirror of Twilight is broken. All right, so now we move on to Four Swords Adventures, and this is the final game in the first branch. Zelda fears that Vadi's seal is weakening, because remember in Four Swords he was resealed into the Four Sword. So Zelda goes with the four Shrine Maidens and Link to make sure that he's still there. A Shadow Link is there. Link defeats him using the Four Sword, but Vadi is then re-released. And it's pretty much basically what happens is it's discovered that the whole plan of Vadi and Shadow Link being created and re-released respectively is to gain control of Hyrule, and we find out basically Ganon is the true villain again, and he wants to create the Dark World. Link shaves them. Link saves the Shrine Maidens, destroys Shadow Link and Vadi and Ganon. Okay, so that's the end of the first split. That's what would happen in the first split. The second split is when he actually defeats Ganon, and the sages seal him. The sages seal him, all 7 of them, so the Water Sage is not killed at this point. They seal him away, and he vows to come back or whatever. Okay, so in Wind Waker, he does come back. It's told in the prologue that he returned, but Link is nowhere to be found. He's either off doing his thing in Majora's Mask, or he's just not around. So the Hylians plea to the gods, and the gods flood Hyrule, and that's what then becomes the Great Sea. With the Great Sea, they flooded it, so the Great Sea is made. It happens over hundreds of years because they have to have time to evolve. The Kokiri are now the Koroks, and the Zora are now the Ruto. So this happens, and then Ganon's still around, but he's got so little to control. He's looking for Zelda for the Triforce of Wisdom at the Forsaken Fortress. Play through the events of that game. Link gets the Triforce of Courage. Then they go into the little air bubble that is Hyrule, and the King Daphnis or whatever, the King of Red Lions, wishes for Hyrule to be flooded, and Link has placed the Master Sword after he pulled it out of the pedestal. Placed it. He's pretty much pierced it through his head, and he's killed him. Killed Ganon. I'm sorry, kind of confused. So he kills Ganon. Okay, so now that we've discovered that Tetra is Zelda, and then there's Link, the events of Phantom Hourglass happen, which is sort of the whole deal with Linebeck. It's just sort of one of those another asides, sort of like Majora's Mask was. And then we have Spirit Tracks, where again they've discovered the new land. They've discovered and founded the new land of Hyrule, and the events of that game have taken place. But these are two different Link and Zelda. They're passed on like way further in the. It's a few hundred years later. Okay, so these two have been confirmed by Eiji Aonuma. Now the thing that I never expected, I'm sure some of you didn't, is the third split, which is what happens when you fail at Ocarina of Time. Yes, so if you were to die, you game over, but in the actual game you start over from wherever your last checkpoint was or whatever. But say you were to die and you never got a second chance, and you had to watch what happened after Link wasn't able to stop Ganon. Okay, so Ganon would basically take control of Hyrule. So in A Link to the Past, the prologue discusses basically what I can assume is Ocarina of Time, and the story of that, where Ganon is eventually sealed away by the 7 wise men. The 7 wise men then, it's hundreds of years later, but the 7 wise men then die, and then the 7 maidens are their descendants. The sorcerer, and forgive me if I have horrible pronunciation on this, but Aghanim, I believe is how you say it, or Aghanim, something. I'm gonna say Aghanim, just okay. So Aghanim then captures the 7 maidens, and he wishes to release Ganon from the Dark World, where the 7 wise men had sealed him. So he does so. Ganon is released. Link pulls a Master Sword from the Lost Woods pedestal, so you can see the Master Sword has been moving around a lot. And he gathers the 3 Penance of Virtue, which, match up with the Triforce, Power, Wisdom, and Courage. He defeats Aghanim, and then he defeats Ganon. Okay, so then he moves on to the Oracle games. And I assume this is a parallel somewhere, because since these are 2 different stories, but it's like been confirmed, they're parallel to each other. I assume it's kind of like a split, but they're like at the same place. But if you were to play a linked game, it would show that regardless, if you were to either play Ages, Oracle of Ages, save Nehru and get the 8 Essences of Time, or if you were to play Seasons, save Din, I believe it is, and get the 8 Essences of Nature. If you were to play a Link game regardless, it would show that both of the villains, Varin and Onox, were controlled by Twin Rova, who is Kuma and Kotaku, Kuma and Kotake, I believe. I'm so bad with names, I'm sorry guys. Who then planned to offer Zelda as a sacrifice to Ganon, Ganon is revived, but Zelda's not sacrificed. And remember, Twin Rova is Ganon's surrogate mother. So then Ganon is defeated again, again, and that basically happens. So then Link's Awakening happens. Which we are not sure if it's a dream or not, but regardless, he needs the 8 instruments of the Sirens to awaken the Windfish to escape the island. He defeats the Nightmares. The Windfish is awaken. Link awakens the Windfish and carries him away. Okay, so now we get to, which is really ironic, Zelda 1 and Zelda 2 are the last 2 games, which is kind of weird because they're the first 2. So, I mean, it's sort of like appropriate, I guess. Sort of creates a little dramatic irony there that I think the creators would have wanted. So in Zelda 1, we all know the story. Ganon takes over Hyrule again. He gains a Triforce of Power in order to, stall him or stop him from taking control of the entire Triforce. Zelda breaks the Triforce of Wisdom into 8 parts. Link gets them through the 8 dungeons. Link defeats Ganon, gets a Triforce of Power from Ganon's ashes, and gives them to Zelda, and peace will return to Hyrule, is what Zelda says. Now in Zelda 2, Zelda is eternally asleep because of a sorcerer who put the spell on Zelda but then killed himself because of the spell. The mark that appears on Link's hand means that he's the one that can awaken her. He needs to find this Triforce of Courage. He sets out to put the 6 crystals in the proper place that was given to him by Impa. Ganon's minions are after him at the same time because they believe his blood will cause Ganon to resurrect. He puts all 6 crystals in their proper palaces. He defeats Dark Link, and then he awakens Zelda. So that is the timeline as of today's point, according to the book Hyrule Historia. Now, I'm not sure if this is exactly the entire, well, obviously this isn't the entire Zelda timeline because the games aren't over yet, but this is what has been revealed so far, and it actually makes a lot of sense once you've done a little research. I actually had to personally do a little research due to my not having played all of the games, so not knowing all the stories, but also just to make sense of everything. And there are still some patches, like for example, where Vadi is turned back into his Minish form, but then he's also sealed away in the sword. So maybe that was just his evil side sealed away or something. So there's still room for like clarification, and that's what's great about this series is that you're able to like theorize, and even if you have like something like this which claims to be a definite um, timeline, you still are able to make sense. There's still room for you to like does that make any sense? No. Okay, so then a new game can be inserted and you're able to make sense of certain places. And this is obviously blah 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 blah. This is obviously um, just the overall timeline. There's still little things that we don't know, like how does the Master Sword get from the Temple of Time to the Lost Woods, or does the Lost Woods end up being like surrounding the Temple of Time? Things like that, things of that nature. But yeah, I just felt like I could share it with you guys. If any of you are out there that love the Zelda timeline as much as I do. So yeah, click the article down there for more information about it. And thank you all for watching.